Before we jump into the episode today, I want to share something with you from my heart. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really can't tell you how much your support means to me. We've been doing the podcast now for almost 4 years. I can't even believe it. And I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that listens, shares an episode with your friends, sends me a DM or a text message letting me know how an episode resonated with you or any aha moments. Seriously, I couldn't be more grateful to be able to create this podcast. It has been such a blessing in my life, and I love hearing the ways it's been able to provide value in yours as well. One thing you might not know is how much work it takes to be consistent with a podcast. In fact, did you know that the majority of podcasts don't make it past episode number 10? And we are well beyond that. And it's just a lot thinking of the episodes, recording them, editing them, managing the guests, making sure that everything runs smoothly and gets uploaded consistently and regularly. And so that's why I have created an amazing opportunity for you to support the podcast monetarily. And in exchange for that, you will get exclusive premium subscriber content. So for as little as $3 a month, you can become a premium subscriber of the podcast. And every month I will upload new voice-guided workouts and breathwork meditation audio for you. So that way you can work out with me, coaching you in your ears. You can also take a moment to reduce your stress and relax and come down and ground down with one of my breathwork audios. So if that is on your heart to support the podcast for as little as $3 a month to become a premium podcast subscriber, I can't tell you how much that means to me and the growth of this podcast. I appreciate you. If you're interested, click the link in the description, become a premium podcast subscriber, new content every month. And while supplies last, I'll send you an exclusive podcast coffee mug so you can have your self-love and sweat coffee every morning. I appreciate you. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast, the place where you'll get inspired to live your life unapologetically, embrace your perfect imperfections, break down barriers, and do what sets your soul on fire. I'm your host, Lunden Souza. Hey, have you grabbed your free Self-Love and Sweat monthly calendar yet? This calendar is so amazing. It comes right in your inbox every single month to help you have a little nugget of wisdom, a sweaty workout, a mindset activity, just a little something to help keep you focused and motivated and keep that momentum towards your goals. So every day when you get this calendar, you'll see a link that you can click that will lead to a podcast episode or a workout or something that will be very powerful and quick to read. And then you'll also see on the top left corner of every single day, there's a little checkbox in the calendar. And what that is that's for your one thing. You can choose one thing every month, or it can be the same, something that you want to implement, and make this something that you can easily implement, like daily meditation or getting a certain amount of steps or water, for example, and staying hydrated, and even taking your supplements. This can be something if you want to get more regular doing a particular habit and routine, you can choose what that checkbox means. So if you want your Self-Love and Sweat free monthly calendar delivered right to your inbox every month on the first of the month, go to lifelikelondon.com/calendar, fill out the form really quickly, and you will have your calendar in your inbox within a few short minutes. That's lifelikelondon, lifelikelunden.com/calendar. Go get yours for free and enjoy this episode. Today's guest on Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast, is Gail Gensler. Gail is a pro-aging lifestyle model and influencer, changing the narrative about aging through fitness and embracing a healthy lifestyle from a real woman's perspective. She embodies the concept that a vibrant, healthy lifestyle is achievable at any age. As she says, age is a mindset, old is an attitude, fitness has nothing to do with age. She's on a mission to break down ageism in marketing and advertising, specifically in the fitness clothing space with the goal of being an authentic midlife model representing her very powerful demographic. Gail, so happy to have you. How's it going? How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. This is great. We get to spend some time together discussing things we both love.
I know, right? It's so great to be able to have these great conversations with women and people of all ages, of all backgrounds, really on a mission. And I love what your mission is all about. So tell us about your mission is specifically ageism in fitness clothing. What have you seen? What have you noticed? What barriers are you breaking down? And yeah, just kind of share with us, if we've never heard of that before, that's not our, let's say, demographic, if you will. Educate us a little bit. Tell us why this is important.
So a few years ago, I'm 61 now. So when I was 58, I started being cognizant of advertising and how it related to midlife people. And I noticed that we were always depicted as either needing medication because something had gone wrong with our bodies, or that we were leading relatively sedate lives. And I looked at that and I said, okay, a relatively sedate life is fine for some, but it's most definitely not fine for me. That's not where I'm at. I'm still in beast mode, boxing and doing HIIT classes and living a very fully, abundantly full, as you say, engaged life. And I didn't see representation of that. And as I started researching it a little bit more, I realized that I'd been very blessed in a lot of regards because I haven't experienced ageism myself, for example, in the workplace. I have not experienced it there. I'm very lucky that my regular full-time job, which is in the automotive industry, there's inclusivity of everything and everybody. It's really inclusive, and age absolutely has no bearing. But apparently, from everything that I read, that's huge in the workplace. And it then brought me to looking at other women who were in the same time of life that I was and realizing that I'm really somewhat of an anomaly, right? I just keep on doing me, and I don't really stop and think about that I'm this age or that age. I just keep doing me the way that I've always done me. And even when I was married and as I was raising my daughter, I just kept on doing me anyway, right? I never forgot who I was, whatever role I was in, but I became very aware that that was not the same for a lot of different people. So there were a lot of women facing a lot of challenges, whether it was re-entering the workforce and experiencing ageism, or they had been in this role of either wife or mother or whatever for so long that they lost themselves, or maybe their experience during menopause was really dreadful, which I had no menopausal experience whatsoever. I just know that one day I woke up and was like, oh, this is great. I don't have my menstrual cycle anymore. So, I just breezed through a lot of this. And, whether you want to attribute it to genetics or the fact that I just have always had a tremendously positive attitude. I've always been athletic my whole life. I've never stopped. I've always minded my nutrition, never stopped. So, whatever we want to attribute it to, right? I realized, though, that I was a unicorn. And so I said, there have to be other women out there like me. And I went onto my very favorite platform, Instagram, and I found out that, yes, in fact, there's this huge, wonderful community on Instagram of women in the midlife space. A few men, very few, mostly women. I would say 99.8% women who, had all different kinds of experiences. And I've gotten to know them and learn their stories. They've shared their stories, their styles, their feelings with me. And I realized that we are all on a very similar mission. And that is to wake society up to the fact that being in midlife is an incredible time. It is not what it used to be, where you were considered old at this point. And I always say the best meme I ever saw was the Golden Girls, who were fabulous in their own way 30 years ago, right next to the women from the Sex and the City reboot. same age, and you look at those two groups of women and you're like, but they couldn't be any more different, right? So I had to become more targeted in what I wanted to do, to add my voice, to really enhance my mission, and to really drill down on my purpose. And I kept on coming back to, obviously, the fitness space because I love to work out so much. And I was, from the beginning, using what I love, which is boxing the most, as the way to deliver my pro-aging message. And through a series of experiences where I was asked to be in fashion shows and such, it kept coming back to that I am my most authentic and my most vibrant when I'm in fitness clothes. Okay, so boom, there I got into that, and I started looking at that. And I realized that all of the models that are used in the fitness apparel space are what I call mutants. You know, listen, you're either 6 foot tall and this skinny, or you're not, right? You're either, that's your body, or it's not your body, right? Not my body, but, you know, it's their body. That's just how they were born. And society has obviously decided that that's what a model should look like. So it changes a little bit as things go on in society. So at certain points over the last few years, whether it was during the pandemic, shall we say, cultural things that happened, different types of models would be introduced so that that space would be considered inclusive. So different color, skin models would be introduced, or people from different parts of the world would be introduced. But they always revert back to 20-year-olds who are 6 foot tall that don't look like they've worked out a day in their life. And yet, there was no midlife representation. So then I started looking at the statistics and realizing that there is, I don't know why, they are just dismissing the buying power of midlife women. Midlife women control 64% of global spending, make 80% of the financial household decisions. And then I thought, I think I'm onto something here. And I thought, what if I could be that model in that ad, or when you walk into a store, on the poster on the wall, where somebody would look and say, okay, she looks real. You can tell she works out, she's fit, she's certainly not perfect, she's certainly not 6 foot tall. I'm like 5'4" 3/4" on a good day. But if I'm looking at those leggings on somebody realistic in my demographic and they look good on that person, wouldn't that engender the thought of, oh, you know what? They might look good on me too. As opposed to, if I'm looking at a pair of leggings on a 20-year-old who's 6 foot tall and is this skinny, I have no idea what those are going to look like on me. And that's when I got extremely targeted, which was at the beginning of this year, after my original Instagram account was hacked and held for ransom. In December of last year, it caused me to take a step back, reevaluate what I was doing. I know that I am providing inspiration and motivation on a daily basis because my community graciously tells me so, which is great, but I have goals. And so that's when I really crystallized it. And I really said, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. I got strategic, I got tactical, and I am going to work until I get it done. So that's the whole long story. There's so many little micro stories in between, but that's how I got to where I sit today.
Hey, really quick, I want to interrupt the podcast for just a minute to tell you about one of my favorite supplements for hair, skin, nails, digestive, and gut health. And that is Snap Supplements Super Greens with collagen. Now, if you're following me on social media, you've probably seen me post about this a bunch because honestly, this product tastes amazing and it's jam-packed with nutrients, like I said, to support healthy hair, skin, and nails. It helps support detoxification, a healthy immune system, and there's even probiotics in there for a healthy gut. It's non-GMO, no sugar added, soy-free, grass-fed collagen, and every scoop is going to give you 7 grams of protein. And this is why I love it, because it's not like a protein shake. It's just a scoop of powder. It tastes amazing. I put it in water, or if I want more hydration, I'll put it in coconut water and mix it up. And it's like having a nice, refreshing beverage that's packed with a bunch of super greens and protein. So what I'm super excited about is that for listening to the podcast, you'll get this discount here, nowhere else, but for listening to the podcast. You can save 25% off on all your Snap supplement purchases, including the super greens with collagen. And you do that by using code Lunden25 at checkout. That's LUNDEN 25. LUNDEN 25 to get 25% off at checkout. You can shop on snapsupplements.com or you can shop on my website, lifelikeLondon.com/supplements. And you'll see there's already an additional 10% taken off. But you, because you're a podcast listener, you're going to get 25% off when you use the code Lunden25 at checkout. LUNDEN 25 at checkout to get your Snap supplements, super greens, and collagen, and all your Snap supplements for 25% off. Now, let's get back to the show. Yes. Oh, Gail, thank you for you and all your you-ness that you have brought in the last handful of minutes and that you continue to bring. I just love observing you and learning from you, getting inspired by you, feeling strong through what you post and things like that. Gail and I, we've never met IRL in real life, but we have had the opportunity to work on similar projects for similar publications and things. And so we've got to do some like IG lives together and of course this podcast and stuff. And so I definitely just, enjoy observing you and watching you do your thing. And I remember when you got hacked and I'm sure we can all, connect with, we've gotten those spam texts or those emails or something. So it's like, we know the hackers are rampant. We've seen our friends post all the Bitcoin stuff on their stories after their accounts have been hacked. So that's something that is super real. But then when it's like what we're doing and sharing our message and you choosing to be like, okay, whatever, like scratch that, I'll start fresh. I'm going to get even more clear in me and what I want to share and serve. And I'll see this as an opportunity to do that. So, it's very cool to watch and to observe and very motivating and inspiring. And one of the things I've always said, for me, when it comes to fitness, once I got beyond the limiting story that, fitness is, you go all in the paint, you push your limits, you do all the things, I really realized, no, my goal in fitness is that longevity, is to be able to stay strong and healthy and have that stamina and have that vibrance that people listening can hear and people watching can see that we see in you. And it's like, it became very clear to me after I broke through that mindset of like, more is not more, Lunden, that there had to be some strategy in that push and in that recovery, in that, training plan involving a lot more working in and working out, as I like to say. So how have you found your ability to stay strong throughout the different ages and phases in your life without going overboard, still nurturing your body, still staying strong and muscular, still, of course, having like the emotional and mental health benefits that working out provides and all those things. But I feel like that message for me, when I got really clear of like, oh, I want to be strong AF that like made me realize I need to put the brakes on a little bit now and check myself, yes, in my 30s to more wholesomely prepare to be and shine bright in those ages too. And so what would your advice be to someone, I'm 33, so anybody that's in their 30s, 40s, or age, of all ages, how can we better nurture and prepare our bodies, but push our limits to still feel physically strong, but not need to be like hard in the paint, PRs all the time, go until you can't, no rest days. I'm like, gone are those days, but how important are those and how important are they still to you today?
So mind you, I just disclosure, right? Anytime I'm saying, what's your advice? I am not a subject matter expert in anything other than my very own mindset and my journey and what I've done and what's worked for me. So just put that out there. It's very important, first of all, to take a holistic approach, right? It's not just one thing. It's your nutrition, it's your supplements, it's your skincare routine, it's your sleep schedule. It's the balance of also enjoying other things, right? It's not your sole thing. Yes, for me, working out is my joy. It's my passion. I love it. But it's not the only thing in my life. I would hope not, right? So, but it's everything holistically put together. So it's a multi-pronged approach. I just listen to my body. I know that's a trite statement. Oh, just listen to your body. But
you've probably
really
been doing it for practicing listening to your body for a long time, right? It wasn't just like a week you started tuning in and got the message. Do you feel like you've been tuning in regularly? Yeah.
When I'm tired, I'm tired. If I need a day off, I take a day off. I came to the realization many, many years ago that your body's not going to change because you took a day or two or even 3 off. When I go on vacation, I try and go abroad every single year with my bestie. We're both single, so we do besties trips every year. And I'm obviously not working out when I go on vacation, but I'm walking and I'm so engaged in what I'm doing. I come back and nothing has changed. My body's still the same, right? And I just jump right back into my routine. Now, mind you, I'm supremely disciplined. So, of course, that helps. I don't have those moments where I fall off. I never have. I just keep on track all of the time. But that's just my personality. And I realize not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
But I think
okay. But let me ask you a question quickly, because I feel you there. What does disciplined look like, though? Like, part of the discipline is going on vacation and going off the plan and being okay with it, right? Would you say that's part of the discipline, or would you say that, like, because I think for some people, like for me, I don't see going on vacation and working out or not working out or overindulging or indulging like a cue to start over, right? Or a cue that I'm off track. For me, it's just like, oh, that's just like life. And then the next time you make the next better decision and the next best thing. And do you think that part of the discipline is adopting that mindset of just like all is included, but in a way that, not moderation, but in a way that, you get to see, does it work for me or does it not? Am I too lean far this way or not this way? Do you feel that way?
So first of all, part of it is finding something that's sustainable for you. Just because it's like, for example, I do keto and intermittent fasting. That might not be sustainable for everybody. Else, I get it. It's not easy. And it might not be sustainable for you. You have to find what works for you, what you can do daily, day in, day out, as a routine, as a habit.
So your discipline is like the pursuit of finding what works for you and being able to do that on vacation without working out, with exploration at home when you might be very, on point with, habits and routines and flow. And I love that. And I think it's so important to point it out. And I highlight it because part of the process, the journey, the discipline, the work, all of it is that cultivation of, is this working for me? How does this suit what I want for my life? How can I find, that balance for me? And so I think it's cool to know. I had a conversation one time with a client, one of my one-on-one clients, who loved this particular like semi-fast foodish, kind of drive-in restaurant. And the moment he realized, I was like, okay, well, do you want it every single day? He's like, no. I'm like, well, how often do you want it? He's like, I feel like every 2 weeks or so I want it, but I just eat it and I'm mad at myself. And I'm like, oh, well, why can't that be part of the plan? Like, if you don't want it every day, why can't just part of the way you eat include that every 2 weeks? Because of course you don't want it all the time. It loses its magic. You don't want to eat the same, food that's your favorite all the time. It's not going to be your fave anymore. And that moment when it's like the light bulb went off of such a aha, like, oh, part of the discipline can be the flexibility. I think that's so beautiful to explore. And I'm sure you on your great trips with your friends and all those moments of being able to be like, hey, I'm going to own me. I'm going to have my routines and to respect that it might not work for someone else, but I'm going to work what works for me and do the work there. And I think that's so cool to be able to just see other women enjoying life, enjoying where they are in life, enjoying health and wellness and whatever that particularly looks like for them, enjoying what that looks like, enjoying that experience. And so, from woman to woman, seeing that it's like, we can enjoy and embody and can be our version of like boxes checked, especially because I'm kind of a boxes checked discipline kind of person too. So I like the flexibility and the discipline, and I like the ease that you found of just including this stuff. Like, it's who you are. It's part of who you are. How have you gotten there to really make it like, it's just me, it's just easy?
Part of it is letting go, right? Mm-hmm. And I wrote an article on perfection, right? Which, we get this message from society about being perfect, and especially women more so than men. We are expected to be perfect. And letting that concept go was a big aha moment for me, and realizing that, first of all, I don't need to compare myself to anybody's standard. I'm unique. That's my superpower. My legs might not be up to here, right? But not everybody has my blue eyes. And, I have other things I don't have that other people do, but I have my intellectual capacity. I have my ability to speak well, so on and so forth, right? So when you focus on all of the blessings and characteristics that you do have, as opposed to what you don't, and you let go of that ridiculous concept of what society has dictated is perfection, right? Then you can just be you and live you in a very intentional way. But that really comes, the wisdom of that came to me anyway in midlife. This was not something, I always just did me because I just didn't really care what anybody else thought. I'm like, I've always been, this is my journey. This is my life. As far as I know, I don't get another one that I'm aware of. And I'm going to do it my way, and again, what that means something different to everybody. I'm going to live it the way I want to. I am going to earn my living the way I want to. I am going to work out the way I want to, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So I've always had that attitude anyway. I don't really care what anybody else says. But in midlife, it even became more clear to me. I don't care what anybody else thinks, right? I'm really enjoying my journey. I'm enjoying finding new purposes in midlife. I'm having a great time, and I'm exploring all the different parts of who I am that have always been there that I wasn't really prepared to see. The journey to self-awareness for me came later in life. I'm certainly not going to tell you I was self-aware in my 30s or 40s. Many other things, many other wonderful things, but I don't know that I was that self-aware. And that's something that really came to me, I would say, after 58. So 58, 59, 60, now 61. These are things I've really, as I've written articles and done research about things that resonate with me, whether it's being intentional or, what boxing means to me, or being in the fitness community here in Miami means to me, or all this plethora of things that I've explored, because all of a sudden those thoughts populated my head. And if anybody wants to go take a look on gailgensler.com, you can go under the blog section and see what my thoughts are and things that I've written that I've been inspired to share with others. But they're my thoughts. And I think that there are a lot of women's thoughts in midlife and certainly even below from the reception that I've gotten from people. But being self-aware is really at the foundation to everything you and I have just discussed, because then you do realize life is about balance. You don't have to be maniacal about something. If you miss a workout, life is not going to fall apart. Your body's not going to fall apart, right? If you go on vacation and I eat what I want to eat because I want to have those culinary experiences in another country, that's fine. Nothing is going to change, and I will treasure the memories of those experiences forever and ever. So I think at the foundation of it all is working on being as self-aware as you can, or that's how it was for me anyway.
Yeah, self-awareness is so powerful, and just being really growth oriented. And just thinking like, hey, it's never too late to learn something new. It's never too late to start something new. I know you mentioned a lot of thoughts and, just different thoughts. And I'm sure throughout your self-awareness process, you realized some thoughts and limiting beliefs and things like that. And in fact, the reason that Gail and I met through a mutual close friend, Jana Short, her and I did an episode on this podcast of it was the University of Unlearning that I did last year. It was like 30 days of unlearning myths. And one of them was, I'm too old to start. And she started a magazine that's grown bananas since she started in her 50s. You mentioned starting really this process of feeling like that awakening or that self-awareness process at 58. And so I just feel like that message and that thought and that story and that record can be playing in a lot of women's minds throughout a lot of different ages, like, oh, I'm too old to do that. Or by the time I start this, then when I'm finished, I'll be this old. And I just feel like, I go hang out with my grandma a lot. She lives about 45 minutes away from me and she's 87. And I just so enjoy, just being around her, and she wants to go do things outside and she's mad because her foot hurts because she can't go climb the tree. I'm like, you're 87. She's like, but I did it before, and it's just so cool to see that painted picture of possibility at any age through people and women like Jana, you, my grandmother. So do you ever have that voice that doesn't seem like it, that says, hey, Gail, you're too old to do that or whatever? And how do you box it away? Or how would you say to someone listening who might have that moment of being like, shit, I'm too old. Like, I can't start that yet. What would you say to her? Because maybe she's listening right now. And it's just, sometimes I've even thought that myself in online business. I'm like, shit, I'm too late. I started too late. It's just like, no, the time is now. So what would you say to women that maybe have that thought?
Too late by what standard? Mm-hmm. Too late by whose standards? Who says that who gets to decide that? Again, it's my life. It's my journey. I'm very selfish about that because it's the only one I have. So why am I going to listen to some nonsense that somebody else is, why are you still in beast mode boxing at your age? Well, why not? When you're I just produced a fitness event this past weekend where I live at the Icon Brickell for a gym that is opening here in South Beach called Rumble Boxing, a big brand that's there.
I've heard of that before. A friend of mine used to teach there. Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm.
It's their first outpost here. We just did a huge pop-up. And, granted, there were many different people. Would I venture to say that I was the oldest? Sure. Do I care? No. Why would I care? Right? Why on earth do I care? It makes no difference whatsoever. Too old by whose standard and who wrote that? Mm-hmm. And so I wrote a very heartfelt article based on a ridiculous experience that I just had last few months, about the difference of being, what does a senior mean, right? What does the word senior actually mean? And so when I look back at the research, the definition of a senior citizen that was defined in 1967. And I was like, wait, you're telling me that I'm supposed to go by a definition that was crafted in 1967? I mean, that's so ridiculous. I think about that and I go, that's ludicrous. That makes no sense whatsoever. So all these ridiculous rules are ridiculous. That's what they are. And I don't know why anybody would be bothered to even pay any attention. I just dismiss them right away. I don't have the patience level or the energy for that. I'm too busy doing fun things and living vibrantly to be worrying about what somebody else thinks, too old, too this, too that. And if you don't finish, so what? And what's going to happen to you? So if you start something now, right? If you start an online business now, and it takes you however many years, so what? Mm-hmm. So as the owner of my company who passed away at 93 a few years ago used to say, so?
Yeah.
And that's how I approach it. Like, so what? Just do it. Yeah. Just start. If it's something you want to do, just start. Have the experience. You don't have to be wildly successful at it, but have the experience and enjoy seeing what you can accomplish and what comes out of that experience from a personal growth perspective for you.
Yeah. Chasing the perspective, not needing to be perfect or not needing to be successful. I don't know how many people felt let off the hook by that. And not that we need permission from others. It's just nice to hear conversations where it's like, oh, if I try something and suck at it, okay, cool. Like if I try it and I realize I don't like it, all right, great. If I tried it after, especially, I think too of if you've been thinking about something for many, many years and I want to go after it, but I'm too old and I want to go after it, but I'm too old. And let's say you finally do it and you realize, let's say best case, it's amazing and you're wildly successful at it. But then also, what if you realize, oh, that's not for me? So you spend years wondering and worrying about something that you should be going after, but you taste it and you're like, no. Sometimes it's nice too to go after things just to know that you don't like them, because that's a good learning too, to be like, oh, that's not for me, or that's not, I'm not jumping in on that. But that's just kind of, what came up for me in this process. And it's so, it's cool to, like I said, observe you and watch you kind of in this rebellion or this challenge, or even this, it's like this research you had of like, okay, well, this word and where did it come from? I'm a huge believer in change your words, change your world. Posted on that today on Instagram, where it's kind of like, okay, this word senior, what is it? Like what label, what do we believe it to be once we are that, right? There's like a senior menu, there's like senior discounts, right? And then you said, okay, this word was invented in this year because of this. So why aren't we stopping to question it? And quite frankly, like, why are we obeying it to the point where it's like you get to a point and then all of a sudden you're just like limited to what you are capable of or can do? And so knowing and seeing that through, looking up and connecting with women. I like to see that. I like to see that possibility of seeing women try things, get out of their comfort zone, do something new in an age that society might say like is too old or too this or whatever. Like I love to proactively seek that and see that in people where it's like, oh yeah, I love when you said found your unicorn or whatever, when you unlock that inner unicorn, that inner badassness. It's like, who knows what age it's supposed to be at, right? And like you said, we don't know if we get another life or another hack at it. It's like, even if you're in this phase of like 5 years of being able to focus on this, if you're at, I don't know, whatever, your last 5 years of life, if you could somehow imagine it, right? Even if that was it, wouldn't you rather use that to pursue something you're passionate about? I think about that too, versus, something you think you're supposed to do. And so I think, when we're feeling that pull and that call at our heartstrings, no matter the age, I feel like it's almost our responsibility to answer that call in a sense and be able to say, nah, not for me, or yes. I feel like some of those callings can really just, have something so powerful to learn, to experience, to fail at, to not be perfect at, to not be successful at, or to really like and to grow and to thrive and to thrive.
And I see so many of my contemporaries who are the polar opposite of me. They've just sort of given up. I mean, I call it giving up. They want to slow down. They want to not do all the things that you just said. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't understand that perspective. I don't find that that's I think the more you do and the more actively you are engaged in life and in all the things that we just said, pursuing all this fantastic opportunities that are out there, I think it keeps you vibrant and healthy longer. And that's the goal. The goal is to stay as healthy, as vibrant as humanly possible, as disease-free as possible. And that's part of my compelling why. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
My compelling why. I want to live a long, healthy, disease-free life for myself so that I can keep on enjoying for my daughter. I don't ever want to be a burden to her. I have very long lives in my family. My grandparents, they should rest in peace, were 97 and 94, and my parents were 92 and 90. So, and everybody was really pretty healthy till the end. So, like I say to my daughter, Lauren, I have a feeling you're going to be stuck with me for quite some time. With that being said, I want to be healthy. I don't want to be a sickly older person. And so I know that the way that I take care of myself now, there's no guarantee, but it certainly puts the odds in my favor.
Yes. I love that. One last thing I'll kind of share and mention. And I just, this resonated so much when my friend Gia said this to me. And this is kind of what I hear you saying too, but she created her own plus size clothing line. She's a very fit plus size woman and just always felt very underrepresented. And she was just like, I wanted to be the woman that I didn't see when I needed to see someone growing up that looked like me, that could be me in their fittest, highest self, but not need to look, like you said, super tall and stick thin. And I think, hearing you too, it's just kind of like, the mold of what I was supposed to be just was not fitting. And I just decided to turn that mold on its head and make my own mold and, represent that to the fullest and be able to model and, kind of open up to others seeing that too. You're on social media, you're sharing that journey where people can be like, oh yeah, that mold didn't fit me either. And here's a woman, exploring what that looks like for her, or we're showing up in a way that she needed for her own, self, or she's at, like you said, in midlife, having this, personal kind of awakening moment, or just becoming more self-aware, being like, hey, where are other women like me in this space? I don't see it. And looking up and saying, hey, instead of complaining or blaming or being frustrated or being like, okay, I'm going to conform, I guess this is how I should be. You just decided to be, create your own mold in your own form. And do you feel like there's ever been, challenges to that? Have you experienced any resistance or anything, that sometimes comes with evolution and personal growth or things like that? Do you feel like you've explored or experienced that?
No.
Cool.
No. And if I did, I clearly dismissed it very quickly. Again, but it just goes back to that I really have not always, I've just always been the same. I didn't really care what other people thought. It was just, again, it's my journey, and, stay in your lane. You do you, I'll do me. And let's just live compatibly, side by side, each of us doing what we want to do. No judgment either way.
Yeah. I love you, Gail. You're so full of life and full of energy and inspiration. And it's a pleasure watching you do you, because I feel like people like that inspire others to do them too. It's not like, oh, I want to be more like Gail. It's like, oh, I want to be more me, because it looks, we get to see that in others. So thank you, because you're so great. Let others know, let us know where we can connect with you, where we can find you on social media. So if you guys listening want to gather more from Gail, because why wouldn't you? Where can we find you?
Thanks. So favorite platform on Instagram, my newer account is Gail Gensler Official. And I would so appreciate your listeners following me. I love to engage. That's been one of the best parts about the Instagram journey, is meeting such wonderful women from all over the globe and speaking with them and engaging with them on a daily basis. And people send me messages. It's so much fun. It's just such a great way to explore new personalities and meet new people. So that's Gail Gensler Official. I'm on Facebook as well. It's Gail Gensler. I'm on LinkedIn, Gail Gensler. I'm reluctantly on TikTok, Gail Gensler. Not my favorite platform, but have a little presence there. And my website, which is gailgensler.com.
Cool.
And that's where you can read all of my articles that I've written and really get some more insight into this journey over the last few years. But definitely Instagram is my most favorite platform.
Cool. Thank you, Gail. We'll put all those links that you just mentioned in the description wherever you're listening to or watching this. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. And we'll just say, talk to you next time, because I'm sure we'll have you back to talk about some other amazing things that you're up to, or even just for a nice little girl chat. So thank you for being here. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you for having me, and audience, I hope that you enjoy.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. Hey, do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a review. This really helps a lot. And share this with a friend. I'm only one person, and with your help, we can really spread the message of self-love and sweat and change more lives all around the world. I'm Lunden Souza, reminding you that you deserve a life full of passion, presence, and purpose, fueled by self-love and sweat. This podcast is a Hit Spot Austria production.